There was a king traveling through the country. He and those with him were so far away from home that darkness caught them by the heels. They had to stop at a stone mill for the night. There was no other place handy. While they sat at supper, they heard a sound in the next room. It was a baby crying. The miller stood in the corner, with his hat in his hand. "What is that noise?" said the king to him. "Oh, it is nothing but another baby that the storks have brought into the house today," said the miller. There was a wise man traveling along with the king. He could read the stars, and everything that they told, as easily as one can read one's ABCs in a book, after one knows them. The king, jokingly, asked him to find out what the stars had to foretell of the miller's baby. The wise man went out, and took a peep up in the sky. Minutes later, he came in again. "Well," said the king, "and what did the stars tell you?" "The stars told me that you shall have a daughter, and that the miller's baby, in the next room, shall marry her when they are old enough to think of such things." "What?" said the king, "and is a miller's baby to marry the princess that is to come? We will see about that." The next day, he took the miller aside, and talked and bargained, until the miller agreed to be paid $2,000, and the king rode off with the baby. As soon as he came home to the castle, he called his chief forester. "Here," said he, "take this baby, kill it, and bring its heart to me, that I may know that you have really done as you have been told." Off went the forester with the baby. On his way, he stopped at home. His good wife was working in the house. "Well, Henry," said she, "what's about the baby?" "Oh," said he, "I am just taking it off to the forest to take care of it. It's the king's command, and it must be obeyed." "Come," said she, "it would be wicked to harm the little innocent, and to have its blood on your hands. Yonder hangs the rabbit that you shot this morning. Its heart will please the king just as well as the other." Finally, she and the man smeared a basket all over with pitch, and set the baby adrift in it, on the river. The king was just as well satisfied with the rabbit's heart as he would have been with the baby's. The basket with the baby in it drifted on and on down the river, until it lodged at last, among the high reeds that stood along the bank. There came a great she-bear to the water to drink, and there she found it. The huntsman in the forest had robbed the she-bear of her cubs. Her heart yearned over the little baby, and she carried it home with her to fill the place of her own young ones. There, the baby throve until he grew to a great, strong lad. As he had fed upon nothing but bear's milk for all that time, he was 10 times stronger than the strongest man in the land. One day, as he was walking through the forest, he came across a woodman chopping the trees into billets of wood. That was the first time he had ever seen a body like himself. He went to the bear as fast as he could travel, and told her what he had seen. "That," said the bear, "is the most wicked and most cruel of all beasts." "Yes," says the lad, "that may be so, all the same, I love beasts like that as I love the food I eat. I long for nothing so much as to go out into the wide world, where I may find others of the same kind." At this, the bear saw very well how the geese flew, and that the lad would soon be flitting. "See," said she, "I can't stop you from going out into the whole wide world, but you will want help before long. The ways of the world are not peaceful and simple as they are here in the woods. Before you have lived there long, you will have more needs than there are flies in summer. See, here is a little crooked horn. When your wants grow many, just come to the forest and blow a blast on it. I will not be too far away to help you." Off went the lad away from the forest. All the coat he had upon his back was the skin of a bear dressed with the hair on it. That was why folks called him Bearskin. He trudged along the high road, until he came to the king's castle. It was the same king who thought he had put Bearskin safe out of the way, years and years ago. Now, the king's swineherd was in want of a lad. As there was nothing better to do in that town, Bearskin took the place and went every morning to help drive the pigs into the forest, where they might eat acorns and grow fat. One day, there was a mighty stir throughout the town, folk crying, and making a great hubbub. "What is it all about?" asked Bearskin to the swineherd. "What? Do you not know what the trouble is? Where have you been all of your life, that you have heard nothing of what was going on in the world? Have you never heard of the great fiery dragon with 3 heads that had threatened to lay waste all of the land, unless the pretty princess were given up to him? This was the very day that the dragon was to come for her, and she was to be sent up on the hill back of the town. That was why all the folks were crying and making such a stir." "So," said Bearskin, "is there never a lad in the whole country that is man enough to face the beast? Then I will go myself if nobody better is being found." Off he went, though the swineherd laughed, and thought it all a bit of a jest. Bearskin came to the forest. There he blew a blast upon the little crooked horn that the bear had given him. Presently, the bear came through the bushes, so fast that the little twigs flew behind her. "What is it that you want?" she asked. "I would like," said Bearskin, "to have a horse, a suit of gold and silver armor that nothing can pierce, and a sword that shall cut through iron and steel. I would like to go up on the hill to fight the dragon and free the pretty princess at the king's town over there." "Very well," said the bear, "look back of the tree yonder, and you will find just what you want." Yes, sure enough, there they were at the back of the tree, a grand white horse that champed his bit and pawed the ground till the gravel flew, and a suit of gold and silver armor such as a king might wear. Bearskin put on the armor and mounted the horse, and off he rode to the high hill back of the town. The princess and the steward of the castle came by, for it was he that was to bring her to the dragon. The steward stayed at the bottom of the hill, for he was afraid, and the princess had to climb it alone. She could hardly see the road before her due to the tears that fell from her eyes. When she reached the top of the hill, she found, instead of the dragon, a fine tall fellow, dressed all in gold and silver armor. It did not take Bearskin long to comfort the princess. "Come," "Come," said he, "dry your eyes and cry no more. All the cakes in the oven are not burned yet. Just go back of the bushes over there, and leave it with me to settle the matter over with Master Dragon." The princess was glad enough to do that. Back of the bushes she went, and Bearskin waited for the dragon to come. He did not wait long, for it came flying through the air, so that the wind rattled under his wings. Dear, dear! If one could but have been there to see the fight between Bearskin and the dragon, for it was well worth seeing, and that you may believe. The dragon spat out flames and smoke like a house afire. But he could do no hurt to Bearskin, for the gold and silver armor sheltered him so well that not so much as one single hair of his head was singed. Bearskin just rattled away the blows at the dragon, slish, slash, snip, clip, until all three heads were off, and there was an end of it. After that, he cut out the tongues from the 3 heads of the dragon, and tied them up in his pocket handkerchief. The princess came out from behind the bushes where she had lain hidden. She begged Bearskin to go back with her to the king's castle. The king had said that if anyone killed the dragon, he would have her for his wife. Bearskin would not go to the castle just now, for the time was not yet ripe, but, if the princess would give them to him, he would like to have the ring from her finger, the handkerchief from her bosom, and the necklace of golden beads from her neck. The princess gave him what he asked for, and added a sweet kiss too. Then Bearskin mounted upon his grand white horse and rode away to the forest. "Here are your horse and armor," said he to the bear, "and they have done good service today, I can tell you." Then he tramped back again to the king's castle with the old bear's skin over his shoulders. "Well," says the swineherd, "and did you kill the dragon?" "Oh, yes," says Bearskin, "I did that, but it was no big deal to do after all." At that, the swineherd laughed and laughed, for he did not believe a word of it. After Bearskin left, the steward came sneaking up to see how matters had turned out. He found the princess safe and sound, and the dragon dead. "Whoever did this left his luck behind him," said he, and he drew his sword and told the princess that he would kill her if she did not swear to say nothing of what had happened. Then he gathered up the dragon's 3 heads, and he and the princess went back to the castle again. "There," said he, when they had come before the king, and he flung down the 3 heads upon the floor, "I have killed the dragon and I have brought back the princess. I would like to have the reward now." As for the princess, she wept and wept. She could say nothing, and so it was fixed that she was to marry the steward, for that was what the king had promised. At last, came the wedding day, and the smoke went up from the chimneys in clouds. There was to be a grand wedding feast, and there was no end of good things cooking for those who were to come. "See now," says Bearskin to the swineherd where they were feeding their pigs together, out in the woods, "as I killed the dragon, I ought at least to have some of the good things from the king's kitchen. You will go and ask for some of the fine white bread and meat that the king and princess are to eat today. The swineherd stared and laughed. He thought the other must have gone out of his senses. As for going to the castle, no, he would not go a step, and that was the long and short of it. Well, we will see about that, said Bearskin, and he stepped to a thicket and cut a good stout stick. Without another word, he caught the swineherd by the collar, and began dusting his jacket for him until it smoked again. "Stop, stop," bawled the swineherd. "Very well," said Bearskin, "and now will you go over to the castle for me, and ask for some of the same bread and meat that the king and princess are to have for their dinner?" Yes, yes, the swineherd would do anything that Bearskin wanted him to do. "Good," said Bearskin, "then just take this ring and see that the princess gets it. Say that the lad who sent it would like to have some of the bread and meat that she is to have for her dinner." The swineherd took the ring, and off he started to do as he had been told. Rap, tap, tap, he knocked at the door. "Well, and what do you want?" a voice asked. "Oh, there was a lad over in the woods yonder who had sent me to ask for some of the same bread and meat that the king and princess were to have for their dinner. And he had brought this ring to the princess as a token." The princess opened her eyes when she saw the ring which she had given to Bearskin up on the hill. For she saw, as plain as the nose on her face, that he who had saved her from the dragon was not so far away as she had thought. Down she went into the kitchen to see that the very best bread and meat were sent. The swineherd marched off with a great basket full. "Yes," said Bearskin, "that is going well so far, but I am for having some of the red and white wine that they are to drink. Take this kerchief over to the castle yonder. Let the princess know that the lad to whom she gave it upon the hill back of the town would like to have a taste of the wine that she and the king are to have at the feast today." Well, the swineherd was about saying no to this as he had to the other, but Bearskin just reached his hand over toward the stout stick that he had used before, and the other started off as though the ground was hot under his feet. And what did the swineherd want this time? That was what they asked over at the castle. "The lad with the pigs in the woods yonder," said the swineherd, "must have gone crazy, for he has sent this kerchief to the princess and says that he should like to have a bottle or two of the wine that she and the king are to drink today." When the princess saw her kerchief again, her heart leaped for joy. She did not think twice about the wine, but went down into the cellar and brought it up with her own hands. The swineherd marched off with it tucked under his coat. "Yes, that was all very well," said Bearskin. "I am satisfied so far as the wine is concerned. Now I would like to have some of the sweetmeats that they are to eat at the castle today. See, "Here is a necklace of golden beads, just take it to the princess and ask for some of those sweetmeats, for I will have them." And this time he had only to look towards the stick, and the other started off as fast as he could travel. The swineherd had no more trouble with this asking than with the others, for the princess went downstairs and brought the sweetmeats from the pantry with her own hands. The swineherd carried them to Bearskin, where he sat out in the woods with the pigs. Then Bearskin spread out the good things, and he and the swineherd sat down to the feast together. A fine one it was, I can tell you. "Now," said Bearskin, when they had eaten all that they could, "it is time for me to leave you, for I must go and marry the princess." Off he started. The swineherd did nothing but stand and gape after him, as though he were set to catch flies. But Bearskin went straight to the woods, and there he blew upon his horn, and the bear was with him as quickly this time as the last. "Well, what do you want now?" she asked. "This time," said Bearskin, "I want a fine suit made of gold and silver cloth, and a horse to ride on up to the king's house. I am going to marry the princess." Very well, there was what he wanted at the back of the tree yonder. It was a suit of clothes fit for a great king to wear, and a splendid dapple grey horse with a golden saddle and bridle studded all over with precious stones. Bearskin put on the clothes and rode away. A fine sight he was to see, I can tell you. The folks stared when he rode up to the king's castle. Out came the king along with the rest, for he thought that Bearskin was some great lord. The princess knew him the moment she set eyes upon him, for she was not likely to forget him so soon after that. The king brought Bearskin into where they were feasting, and had a place set for him alongside of himself. The steward was there along with the rest. "See," said Bearskin to him, "I have a question to put. One killed a dragon and saved a princess, but another came and swore falsely that he did it. Now, what should be done to such a one?" "Why this," said the steward, speaking up as bold as brass, for he thought to face the matter undaunted. "He should be put in a cask stuck all round with nails, and dragged behind 3 wild horses." "Very well," said Bearskin, "you have spoken for yourself. For I killed the dragon up on the hill behind the town, and you stole the glory of the victory." "That is not so," said the steward, "for it was I who brought home the 3 heads of the dragon in my own hand, and how can that be with the rest?" Bearskin stepped to the wall, where hung the 3 heads of the dragon. He opened the mouth of each. "Where are the tongues?" he asked. At this the steward grew as pale as death. However, he still spoke up as boldly as ever. "Dragons have no tongues," said he. Bearskin only laughed. He untied his handkerchief before them all, and there were the 3 tongues. He put one in each mouth, and they fitted exactly. After that no one could doubt that he was the hero who had really killed the dragon. When the wedding came, it was Bearskin, and not the steward, who married the princess. What was done to him you may guess for yourselves. They had a grand wedding, but in the very midst of the feast one came running in and said there was a great brown bear without, who would come in, willy-nilly. Yes, and you guessed right, it was the great she-bear. If nobody else was a big deal at that wedding, you can bet upon it that she was. As for the king, he was satisfied that the princess had married a great hero. He was the miller's son after all, though the king did not know of this more than my grandfather's little dog, and not even anybody knew but the wise man for that matter. He said nothing of it, for wise folks don't tell all they know.
First, if you've not subscribed, just click on the subscribe button. You have a bell by the side there. Click on the bell so that you will be notified anytime we have a new video coming up.